You know what's a miracle?
Zero.
That you genuinely look happy today.
Oh, really? But I normally look miserable.
You know what? It's not. You don't look miserable at all.
Relaxed.
No, you just look like,
I want to be here.
but not. It's sort of like you look at people and it's like, I don't. Do I have to do this?
No, I'm all right. I think I've still got a little bit of pep left in my step, so let's start now before it fades.
See, there it is. There it is. It's those eyes that say, "Can you fucking get on with it?" Anyway, October Red.
One of my daughters has got the same expression. I didn't realise.
Really?
What people meant
Yes.
when they say you do that.
Yes.
She fucking does it to me. I'm like, why are you looking at that for? Oh, okay. Yeah, coming in.
Right, I'm adjusting this camera because you're a bit taller than I thought as well. Are you mixed?
My dad was from Cyprus.
Ah.
Trying to get my eyebrows up so I don't do that anymore.
Nah. I'll tape them.
What?
Tape them up.
Botox.
Well, everyone else does it, don't they? Anyway, we're not going to do that today. October Red Boxing. Here with the Mr. Mischievous. Mr. Mischievous, I like to call you.
Why?
Adam Booth.
I behave myself.
We're going to talk about your lovely Josh Kelly, and what I'd like to say before we start is I'm going to commend him for being so open and honest about what he's had to go through mentally to get him prepared for even the next fight that he's got coming. You as a coach, you've known him the longest. You've been with him for a very long time. I want to ask your thoughts. How was it for you to have to deal and help him come through the other side?
Well, it wasn't necessarily that I was helping him come through the other side. The difficulty was seeing it play out. I've never experienced that before. And I've experienced quite a lot of things in boxing, but that was not nice. And I'm laying awake night before the fight and the night before that thinking, I can't pull him out again. I need to pull him out. I can't pull him out again. And I remember I turned to Mick Conlon in the change room before the fight and said to Mick, and like Mick could see what was going down. I looked at him and I just said, at least I've got the towel in my hand. And that was like not a nice experience to go in a bizarre setting because there was no crowd either. Right? So yeah, not a nice one. But we had, some good heart-to-heart chats after and looked into what could be done, because at that point it was like, look, just don't fight anymore. But he obviously wanted to try and find the answers. So we looked, he met a couple of people, and then eventually has ended up working with someone else about a year and a half. And the change that I've seen in Josh in how he manages himself and how he copes with certain situations now is a relief, and just means that whatever happens now, he's given himself, or he's become the person that gives himself the best chance to have the success that he wants, and that's the blue sky from like the real dark days.
And it's not something that's easy to overcome. Josh has quite said it quite openly. I don't want to be one of these that you think, oh, I'm just relying and saying it's mental health, it's mental health, because it's kind of like fashionable. It takes a lot, and I'm going to say this quite open and honest, men hold back their feelings a lot more than women do. So I think sometimes, mental health is mental health across the board. There are all sufferers. But even in suicide rates, you find that that's higher with men because of that suppression of their feelings.
Yeah, and I think men, normally have more ego. In general, have more ego, and I think the ego and the bullshit pride and whatever it is that men have evolved means that they're more. Women like to chat and be open and cry freely and express themselves, where it's not like that for men. So yeah, it's difficult, but it's a relief that the younger generation coming through don't have to feel that negative pressure of feeling like they're bitching and moaning or showing a weakness, when actually being able to confront your own weaknesses openly and honestly is a strength. And it's the ultimate strength, because it's a bit like sarcasm. If I take the piss out of myself, I take the bullets out your gun. There's nothing you can say. And it's a little bit like that mentally.
Yeah, that's spot on. I like that analogy, actually. So you mentioned something there that I want to go back to. It was something that you hadn't dealt with as a boxing coach. You're someone that's established a name that's well known in the boxing scene. Your stable, I will say this quite openly as well, you all walk out with each other. I've seen Mick Conlon at all of your fighters' fights, Abbas Baru there as well, Harlem Eubank, and also Josh Kelly, and you all tend to walk out together. It's not just that person's fight in the gym, it's all of your fights. Adam, where does that mentality come from, and how have you pushed that onto, say, your students, if it were?
Well, I haven't pushed that onto them. No, it's not. It's a natural environment, and this is a very lonely sport. It's combat sport's the most lonely when a fight starts, and they are all on a similar journey and go through a collective experience, but together and individually. They prepare collectively, they compete individually, and so they know what it's like to have your friends and sort of conscious companions with you every day in the moments when it matters. But that's not just my gym. If you look around, there's lots of gyms where all the fighters in the gym support the others, and it's nice. As a coach, it's nice to see. And it's quite handy as well, because on a fight week, if you say to someone, oh shit, look, do me a favour, I need you to go and pick up some Lucozade Sport, or I need to go and get it. I just use those bodies, because they know when they're a fighter on fight week, they need those people. So it's kind of helpful.
So that's not something that you've instilled to your team. They've just kind of naturally gravitated to that. Well, then that says a lot about your fighters continuously wanting to be around each other and around yourself.
But like I said, it's like, look at amateur boxing. It's a bit like that in the amateurs as well. So and like a combat sport, when you put so much of your energy and consciousness and spirit into a gym, into that environment, where you go through a lot of stress, pressure, fun, laughter, happiness, sadness, all that stuff, and you're doing it with the same group of people every day, it creates a beautiful, unique type of bond. And all we have is time and energy, and if you share that with a group of people who have the same outlook, it's the journey that you should appreciate, because ultimately for me the destination is the journey itself. It's not the end goal, because once it's all said and done, you look back and actually think it ain't the belt that made the difference, it was all the other stuff.
I totally agree with you with that. Too many people are rushing to get to the goal and forget about getting to the goal itself, because that's where you'll have the funds, that's where you'll have the slip-ups, and that's where you'll learn the most. But we're going to move on to this fight, a fight that I know Troy's been calling Josh's name for a bit. I've seen all the stuff on social media, a fight that's finally happening, and a fight that you said you spoke to Josh and immediately there was no really hesitation at all. It's like, yeah, I'll have that fight.
Yeah, well, once we decided that Josh was going to move up to 154, in the UK and Europe, there was a handful of fighters that were thinking, right, that's where we're aiming, and Troy was obviously one of those. And having beaten Ted Cheeseman, which was a fantastic win, and I was there that night, he was already in our consciousness about that being a potential opponent, whether it was now or in March or whenever it was. And when the board called me and said that they were thinking about putting it out, is it one that we would take, because they don't want to waste their time putting it out and then not be taken? It took 5 minutes to get hold of Josh, call him back and say, yeah, absolutely, it's a great fight. It's the fight that Josh needs now.
So then your experience then, and I'm just slightly drifting there, but it's something that I'd like to know as a boxing fan first. When you have a fighter and there's another fighter, and say, for example, they want to fight each other, what stalls that from happening if, both fighters want it? What's the inner politics of it? Because we see so many fights we want to see, and sometimes they just don't happen. It's really frustrating.
There's 3 words that normally apply to that, and that's exclusive promotional agreement.
Right.
If they've got an exclusive promotional agreement with different promoters, there's your first hurdle. If those promoters have got exclusive or contracts with different broadcasters, there's another hurdle. It's not just about, I want to fight him, he wants to fight me, let's make it happen, because we're in a business and there's other elements that have got a vested interest in the careers, and it's normally them that play out just as much as anything else.
Fair enough. But thankfully that didn't happen on this case. Like you said, you've had your eyes on Troy, a fighter that Josh does genuinely want to fight. I mean, I've just spoke to him out there and he's literally pacing. It's like he's that eager to go and fight. You can see like the passion that's back in his eyes. So when obviously he slipped a little bit, he went away and he came back. What is the difference in training him now, getting him ready for these? This is going to be his third fight that he's had since he's gone up in weight.
Well, he's more experienced because he experienced the downside of fighting. He's more experienced because he's experienced turmoil in his own mind, which has got nothing to do with boxing for a period of time. And he's evolved and he feels like a different man each day, right? Because he is a different man each day. And he's probably standing there thinking, right, I want to see what I am now. We know how phenomenally talented. And as a coach, it's fun coaching him because I told myself, right, I need to now learn how to coach a fighter that does the things that you can't teach. And that's what he is. He's a fighter that can do the things that you can't teach as a coach. Because if you try and set out to a fighter, right, what I want you to do is this, and you then do the sequence that Josh might, it makes no sense. You think, don't do that, you get knocked out, or don't do that because it just makes no sense. But that's what he does. And so it's, our relationship and our working relationship has only got stronger over the years, more so from the down times, because understanding is everything. He's 28 years old and he is now perfectly in the position for this challenge.
And what a challenge it will be. We work towards the fighter's attributes. You're the coach, you're the one that can correct me and say, girl, you don't know what you're on about. But as a coach, when you look at fighters, and I'm sure that's part of what you do, you'll look at the opponent. Do you look at taking away, here we go, do you look at taking away the opponent's attributes or their weaknesses? Or is it a bit of both?
No, you have to consider. So there's my notes on Troy.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Oh.
So what I do is I'll go through it and I'll watch him in this fight, watch him in that fight, make a note, go back and watch it again. Sometimes I think, oh, actually, no, that's not a habit. That just happened. Delete that one. But strengths and weaknesses, not just weaknesses, strengths. And that's what I look at. And then, okay, here's your threat and here's your opportunity. Take away the threat and maximize the opportunity. That's the overview. How you do that, okay, well, here's his style. This is what we believe is his rhythm, what he feels when he does a certain thing, and then you get into it, and that's why we do it. That's what makes it interesting, because two fights are never the same.
I like that, and it's almost like you're implementing these things. Like you said, you're looking at the strengths and the weaknesses. You'll work towards those to be able to take advantage of those. However, like you said, two fights may never be the same. So say for example, habits won't change, they'll always come back, but there may be some new stuff that Troy's implemented that Josh may have to, say when he's coming back in the corner, get that sharp turnaround advice or be able to box off instinct.
Are you talking about Troy?
No, Josh.
Josh. Yes, I mean, you have a plan.
Yeah.
And you also have to have the ability to adapt. Troy's experience and success also shows what he is as a fighter. I don't think you can see and confidently predict what Josh is as a fighter yet, because if you look at his fights, you won't find two fights where he looks the same.
So 12 as well, isn't it?
But when you look at the fights, he flips different styles and spins lots of different plates. But actually what we've been working on for quite a while now is something that he finds very comfortable and very easy to do, and that's what I'm excited about.
I like that, but I'm gonna leave it on a cliffhanger then. We're looking forward to this fight. I'm happy it's going on. I'm one of the fans that thinks it's a really good fight. The division itself is beautiful. It's a beautiful division to be in. Like I've mentioned before, you've already got Abbas Baru that's in the division. There's Israel Madrimov. There's Jamel Charlo right at the top. There's a lot of people say Josh is successful pushing through this fight. There's a lot of people above him that will make for even more exciting fights. We're looking at world level, yes, not dismissing the British belt, but Josh is someone that's keenly and often said, I want world titles.
Yeah, and there are bigger challenges out there, but Josh ain't ready for those yet. This is the challenge that Josh actually needs right now, because it's overcoming these challenges that gets you ready for the next one. So Josh isn't above this level because he's not proven he's above this level, and that's the thrill, is to prove the point, to prove that no, I am here and I'm better than this, but this is who I got to deal with to prove my point.
Beautiful, wise words, Adam. Who knew it was going to be this exciting speaking to you? You know, look, I mean that in the nicest possible way. It's been an absolutely fantastic conversation. Adam Booth, October Red Boxing. Until the next time, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, and thank you for watching October Red Boxing. Like, subscribe, and tap the bell for notifications. You can also find us on Instagram at October Red Boxing and on Twitter, October Red UK. And remember, at October Red, we stay ready.